Welcome to the third episode of AI Watch. In this episode, my colleague Liam Safford will interview Rob Wortham, the AI Director of Global Digital Foundation. We'll talk about toolsets for operationalization of AI assurance. Also, we'll have Jackie giving you the latest AI news.
Hello, and I'm here with Rob Wortham from Global Digital Foundation, and we're going to be discussing AI assurance and AI regulation. So, Rob, can you tell me a little bit about your background and your current role in Global Digital Foundation?
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Liam. My background really was as an engineer. Quite quickly got involved in custom chip design, circuit design, and ended up writing a lot of software, and then set up a company, which was a software development company. Then decided I wanted to change. So I went back to university and did a PhD in artificial intelligence. Wow. Following that PhD, I was fortunate to be offered a position at the University of Bath, teaching robotics and AI, and became the Director of Studies, which basically means the program lead for that MSc. More recently, about a year ago, got involved with Global Digital Foundation as a Director for AI. Really with a view to establishing the AI Assurance Club, and I think that's another one of your questions that you'll follow on with.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you tell me about the AI Assurance Club?
Yeah, certainly. So the reason that Global Digital Foundation founded the AI Assurance Club was because we saw a need really for organisations of all sorts, public and private organisations, to have to think about and engage with the challenges of AI assurance. And this has really been thrown up by the increasing legislation, the concern that people have about the ethics of AI and so on. And as this comes to prominence, organisations need to react to that and think about governance with respect to artificial intelligence and how they're going to put in place effective assurance processes. Obviously, more recently, as the AI Act it's quite close to being finalised, and we're now thinking much more about processes and how organisations can be compliant with the regulation and be engaged in best practice. So that's really what the AI Assurance Club is about bringing together all those different groups of people.
Yeah. So you're really creating this unique ecosystem for AI assurance that wasn't there before.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, we are.
No, so I guess then that leads on to my next question around regulation for AI. So do you think this is positive for the industry? And following on from that, do you think it's also positive for innovation for AI?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think if you look at regulation more generally and how that's affected industry, particularly in engineering, you see that in our built environment, whether that's the buildings around us, our civil engineering, the cars we drive, our electrical infrastructure, we trust it all. And the reason we trust all of that stuff is because it is compliant to standards. And the reason it's compliant to standards is because of regulation. So in order to foster trust and increase the uptake of products, we need good regulation, not excessive regulation, but we need good regulation, and we need then to have a set of more detailed standards and then frameworks which people can engage with in order to build those kinds of trustworthy solutions.
Moving then on to the technical tools when talking about AI assurance, how do you see the market in terms of the operationalization of this?
Yeah, so tools means a lot of different things to different people. So to someone like me, who's a techie, one immediately reaches for the idea that this is some piece of software that you're going to use. However, if you were a policy person, you might think of it as being a framework for thinking about a problem. So what we want to do is to use these tools of all sorts in order to be able to ensure that we all agree on what best practice is. Yeah. We all agree under what criteria we're doing this work, and then we've got something for assessment. You could build into that process, you could instrument that process with tools that, for example, remember exactly which data sets you used. exactly what hyperparameters you use for your training, exactly what the neural net model was, and so on. And then this means that you've got an audit trail and a log, and you can reproduce those same steps. It also means that someone can go look through that and say, is there unwanted bias because of the way this was done?
So how do you actually start working with them?
First thing you have to do is understand why you're working with these tools, what you're aiming to achieve, and what the underlying objective is. Because obviously we've just discussed tools are very different things. So one thing which is a bit of a challenge is to read the legislation, because by doing that you'll know what it is that you're trying to achieve, and you can map then the requirements in the regulation to whatever set of principles or framework or structure that you're now going to engage with in order to be compliant with that regulation. So I would say that that's probably a good place to start.
No, definitely. So really seeing, here's the legislation, let that inform what I need to do next in terms of compliance and tools regarding it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what are the tangible results that you can get from these tools?
So in terms of tangible deliverables from the tools, the most important thing is that you get logs out of them. So you get audit trails, you get information that you can revisit. And then you can summarize that information in various different ways in order to create a kind of dashboard of how you are doing in terms of what you need to look at next. It's a management process, really.
Yes.
The whole thing really does break down. As I said, software is a kind of engineering, and so really what we're talking about is applying engineering discipline, and tools just help us better apply engineering discipline.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Rob. Thanks for joining, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Liam.
Hello, I'm Jackie, the virtual guide that will present to you some of the news for this month. Are you ready for it? A recent ABC News interview featuring the CEO and CTO of OpenAI, the company that created the now famous ChatGPT, underscored the worries and risks resulting from advanced generative AI. The interview covered issues such as disinformation, cyber attacks, and the general uncertainty that ChatGPT has brought in its wake. Numerous changes are needed for our society to adapt. In the educational sector, for example, teachers and institutions must implement new policies to prevent ChatGPT from enabling cheating and other unethical behaviors. Across the greater economy, numerous jobs will be replaced or changed by generative AI. Governments must pay attention and consider how to integrate these powerful tools into society. Organizations must also beware the negative consequences for authoritarian countries, whose regimes may use this technology to suppress or manipulate citizens. Besides all these scary unknowns, Sam Altman maintains an optimistic attitude about how AI can positively impact the world. We can all have an incredible educator in our pocket that's customized for us, that helps us learn, Altman said. We can have medical advice for everybody that is beyond what we can get today. Altman insists that this technology will improve our quality of life, that it will create better jobs, that platforms like ChatGPT will be a learning supplement that improves the education system, that advanced AI can actually prevent disinformation, and so on. Although Altman is concerned about the speed of these changes, he insists that everything is controlled. The models can be adapted in case of dangerous scenarios and, at least for now, he restates, this is a tool that is very much in human control. Coming next, another story featuring OpenAI. An ethical AI campaign group known as For Humanity has called for OpenAI to join a regulatory sandbox to test OpenAI's AI models and tools. Regulatory sandboxes simulate a lifelike environment for the testing of innovative tools that do not yet comply with existing legal and regulatory frameworks. For Humanity's founder, Ryan Carrier, emphasized the importance of OpenAI's engagement with a regulatory sandbox in an open letter, citing the potential for the fair and broad sharing of governance. OpenAI's ChatGPT is among the models and tools that For Humanity would like to see tested. Engagement with the sandbox would also help OpenAI comply with the upcoming EU AI Act, which seeks to ensure the ethical development and use of AI. Finally, according to The Guardian, on March 22, more than 1,800 signatories, including Elon Musk, Gary Marcus, and Steve Wozniak, called for a 6-month pause on the development of AI systems more powerful than OpenAI's GPT-4. This move was supported by engineers from major tech companies such as Amazon, DeepMind, Google, Meta, and Microsoft. GPT-4, developed by OpenAI, can hold human-like conversations, compose songs, and summarize lengthy documents. The signatories claimed that AI systems with human competitive intelligence pose significant risks to humanity. The letter also called for collaboration among AI labs and independent experts to develop shared safety protocols for advanced AI design and development, which would be audited and overseen by independent outside experts. That was the news this month. I leave the last word to Michael. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. Please feel free to share with us any suggestions to content that you would like us to include in the future newsletters. And please don't forget to subscribe to this newsletter via our webpage, Vimeo, YouTube, so that every time there's a new episode, you get notified. Thank you so much for watching.